Getting a little scared. I pledged to 100% Final Fantasy VII Remake, or else I had to cosplay as Tifa, and I have to say the Yuffie DLC is just kicking my... Welcome back, Classic Crew, to another journal in my Final Fantasy VII Remake journey as I try to 100% this game. Recently, I finished all of normal mode, unlocking pretty much chapter selection, hard mode, and now I can also start integrate the DLC of the game, which I have never played before. Now, in my entire normal playthrough, I only died twice. In my first 4 hours of playing the Yuffie DLC, I'm going to call it the Yuffie DLC because integrate just, I don't even know what that means. I died 4 times. 4 times pretty much in the first 3 battles of this game. I haven't even come across a boss in this DLC, and I am dying. The DLC is hard, and the mini games, Fort Condor, oh, there's so much to talk about. So I'm going to share with you my initial impressions of the game. So let's get started with my first impression of the Yuffie DLC. I have to say, overall, the music, I've loved the music in Final Fantasy VII Remake. The one in this DLC, I don't know if it's because I'm less familiar with Yuffie as a character, but I don't recognize the themes as much. So there's not as much nostalgia. And overall, all the themes are more like on the playful side, funsy side, which really fits her character more so than the epic side. So the music already is a big shift in mood for me. Next, the story. Even though I played 4 hours, I can't really tell you much about the story other than Yuffie arrives in Midgar and we're looking for the ultimate materia. I barely got to progress the story because there was just so many other things to do. I was going around looking for some Happy Turtle posters and also trying to complete the Fort Condor mini game side quest. I didn't want to do it all at once, but I learned that once you leave the Sector 7 slums, which is where you start, you can't go back, or at least I don't think you can. And so I figured, you know what, let's just double down, let's do everything we can before we move on. And besides, the game's so hard already, I'm probably better off to actually do everything so I have as much equipment as I can go into the next chapters. Now, the gameplay is where this DLC really shines. I absolutely love playing as Yuffie. I was like, how are they going to make her different than all the other characters that you play in the base game? And they managed it. She basically juggles enemies from close range to range to melee. It's basically bouncing an enemy between that. So if you're pretty much hitting X a bunch of times close and you hold X, it's going to be like melee, then she jumps back and she's range. And then if you're going, I think like YYX or something like that, it's going to go range, and then approaches the enemy to you for melee. So it's a really nice sense of juggling the enemy around, which is really satisfying to use. And you have this really unique ability called ninjutsu, which lets you change what element you're using on the enemy, which then lets you exploit their weakness. So you can go like ice, wind, lightning, and fire. The flip side is you're so OP in juggling enemies, if they basically like just whiff you 2 times, you are dead. So Yuffie takes a lot of damage, way more than say Cloud or any of the other characters in the main game. So that is the trade-off, and that is what's making it harder for me, because you can't just spam your attacks. You have to be a little bit smarter. And I know what you're all going to say is, you're supposed to be a veteran at this point. The game assumes that you played the main game, and I agree with you, and I'm totally on board. But there's still that spike of difficulty, which I wasn't expecting. But hey, I will accept it for what it is. This is also just normal mode, by the way. There is a harder mode that I have to unlock after I complete Yuffie's story. And I'm sweating here because I don't look good in a Tifa cosplay, but I think I might have to. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to complete this pledge. And if I fail, I have to freaking get into a... The other mechanic I like is the throwing star in the overworld. So just like when you see crates in the main game, you would use Cloud or anyone to break it. With her, she throws the ninja star so you can hit like ranged boxes from afar. Very satisfying. And otherwise, the only other thing I got to do with Yuffie is pretty much the Happy Turtle quest, which awarded me an achievement because I found them all. So there's this guy who's advertising the Happy Turtle, which is like a bar in Wutai. What's Wutai? Anyway, it's in Wutai, where Yuffie's from. And this mini quest I really love because so you go around Sector 7 slums looking for the posters, and they're near where you hear the Happy Turtle music. And whoever is the sound composer of this game, there's probably multiple. They did such a great job because there are 6 posters for the Happy Turtle, and they're all surrounded by 6 different songs, all singing about a Happy Turtle in different genres. So there's 4 that really stood out to me. There's the metal Happy Turtle song, which was just like, I don't usually listen to metal, but I was down for this song. There's like an electric version, a pop version, and what is probably my favorite, and this is terrible, but it's the oldies version. I was walking around, I was like, hey, that sounds like the Beach Boys. Do you guys even know who the Beach Boys is? Like, I don't want to be that old guy on YouTube, but I think I'm turning into that old guy on YouTube. So I really like the Happy Turtle music, got that achievement, so that's one out of the way. Then we met Chadley again, who's back with his VR simulator, and I could fight Ramu, which is another fantastic summon from the original game. Oh man, Ramu destroyed me when I first took him on. I'm like, well, I should really do everything the game is throwing at me right now. I'm up to the challenge. I got 100%. Let's just do it now. So I took him on with Yuffie solo, and it was a nope. Now I know from the trailers Yuffie gets a companion later, so I was like, maybe I can come back to this fight with a companion, which is what I did in the case when Shiva became unlocked in the base game. And that actually helped a lot. So later on you get introduced to Sonon. Sonon? I think it's Sonon. And that's all I needed to keep the aggro off of me, so I could do my casting, keep Yuffie alive, keep Sonon alive, aka Husbando alive. And the synergizing with Husbando feels quite good. Now you can't use it as much, or at least I couldn't, in Ramu, because that just led to my death. But I did use him a little bit in Out of Battle with syncing, where he does like, it's a whole new mechanic where they synergize their moves and attacks. Super rewarding. I look forward to doing more battles with Sonon. Unfortunately, I got him at a point where I can only really do Ramu. I did beat him and got the summon, but the biggest part of my stream was playing Fort Condor, which is the primary mini game in this game. Now, Fort Condor, when I saw the trailer for it, I was like, oh cool, I liked Fort Condor in the original. Let's see what they do. And they basically turned it into a tabletop / card game with no cards that you can challenge different people around, and then there's like a ranking system that I think goes up to rank 4. So I was like, oh, it's like Gwent in Witcher, but luckily it's a very light version. I think in total there's like 6 to 8 challengers, which I'm like, okay, this is manageable. And for the most part, I was doing okay. It was a little bit weird to understand what to do at first, but I started sweating when we got to 3-star rank, where you have to take on Wedge. And when I saw his loadout, I'm just like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? With some good strategy and some help from chat, though, I did beat him, which unlocked our Grandmaster, which was freaking Chadley. And I'm stuck. I can't beat Chadley. I died 3 times. I tried different strategies on him. He just swarms me. Now, I have looked up other videos on how other strategies I could use to overtake him. I have new ideas. I'm going to try that. But I really need to break through this wall right now, which is Chadley and freaking Fort Condor, so I can continue this DLC and actually learn what the story is. The story seems pretty light. Like, I really can't see it because it's all about finding the ultimate materia. I can't imagine there being that much character development or side story to this DLC, so curious to see how it's going to go. I do like the fact that you're getting little tidbits of pieces from the main cast and what they were doing when they were off screen, like when you're playing as Cloud discovering Aerith. You get to, through Yuffie's eyes, you get to see what was going on with Barrett and Tifa and how she was getting ready to go wall market. Same with Jesse and Wedge being around and Biggs, all that. So love that kind of backstory, and I think you would call it exposition maybe. But yeah, this is just so hard. It's going to get harder. Base game, I'm on hard mode. I have all of these like extra bosses on hard mode to do. I have hard mini games to do. And then I have to do this whole Fort Condor business again on hard mode. And guys, I think we're going to have to see me as Tifa soon. I think that's where this whole stupid pledge is going. So if you're into that, be sure to follow along. Maybe check out this other video. I don't know where I should point. Maybe here is where we're going to put the next video. And I will see you next time. Until then, keep it classy.